Despite being the weekend and my chemistry and bio classes being on Tuesdays, I still have to talk about genetics thanks to today's Blue Lock leaks. Ego goes into a ton of detail on what differentiates a genius and a prodigy, and Isagi yoichi, well, he might have found his winning piece. What's going on, everybody? My name is Animasu, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Blue Lock Chapter 281 leaks titled The Equation of Evolution. As always, if you enjoy staying up to date with Blue Lock and would like to support the channel, please click that subscribe button, comment below for the algorithm, and even consider joining my community Discord. Also, my Blue Lock Halloween art competition is still live until October the 31st, so make sure to participate or support our competitors. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into our biochem lecture with Professor Ego Jinpachi. The Chapter 281 leaks start off with intro text which states, Ego speaks through the process of evolution. This is how we have spun egoism. With the first page showing a chibi representation as he speaks, Ego explains that most life is born with nearly identical genes from both their father and mother. Rarely though, a child will be born with a characteristic not found in either parental figure, which does explain why Isagi has that dog in him compared to his wholesome parents. Other examples are abnormalities in height like being super small or tall, Julian Loki's otherworldly speed, or being very sensitive, which I think is in reference to Isagi yoichi in the light novel. Sadly, Ego goes on to say that in most classes, these people end up losing out in standard competition simply for being different than others. The example we're given shows a bunch of cat-like creatures, with only one being the tall one able to reach the food in the treetops. The smaller different animal isn't able to reach the food and is left to starve. However, Ego explains that this is just natural selection. With only the strong left to survive, the characteristics that were once unique mutations become the standard in order to survive. The cycle then repeats to eventually create an entirely new creature from the original, and this is how Ego views evolution at its roots, even with humans. Anri tries to understand by relating it to Pichu evolving into Pikachu from Pokemon, which results in Ego basically telling her to lock in and focus up or she's gonna get fired. She needs to understand every word of what he's saying, and Anri asks how exactly this all relates to football. Ego dives deeper, sharing his perspective on how talent mirrors the process of evolution. To him, it all boils down to the same principles. In society, there are people who are born with unique traits that set them apart from everyone else. These differences might make their lives harder or cause them to struggle to fit in, but Ego sees these traits as something more, a sign of humanity's evolutionary potential. He explains that those who stand out, who possess these distinct characteristics, are the embodiment of evolution. Instead of blending in, they project their unique qualities, whether physical or mental, out into the world. And when these traits resonate with the needs of the time, they create something new, something that reshapes the standards everyone else follows. That's how innovation happens, and it's how the world moves forward. In Ego's eyes, these people aren't just talented, they're a new breed. They're the ones who redefine the norms and set the bar higher, challenging everyone else to catch up. They're defined by the term genius, those who through their uniqueness become the catalyst for change, driving evolution of both on and off the field. Ego still doesn't stop there though. He points out that while innovation is essential, a genius alone isn't enough to change the game. For their unique abilities to truly impact the world, there needs to be someone who can recognize these talents, understand the potential, and find a way to bring them to the forefront. That's where a different kind of talent comes into play, the prodigy. Unlike a genius who breaks new ground, the prodigy takes that groundbreaking potential and makes it universal. They see how to refine and replicate it, transforming it into making it a standard everyone else can use. Anri catches on quickly, linking this back to the concept of gene evolution that Ego mentioned earlier. Just as a rare mutation can become the norm through natural selection, a prodigy's role is to ensure that what starts as a unique trait in a genius becomes something that others can adopt and build upon. Ego confirms her thinking, explaining that that's how humanity has always advanced. It's not just about the outliers who disrupt the norm, but also those who take these disruptors, refine them, and make them accessible. And when it comes to football, it is no different. A genius might wow everyone with their physical abilities and game-changing plays, but the prodigies, they're the ones who analyze these movements, develop strategies around them, and craft new tactics. By using data and developing countermeasures, they transform the brilliance of a genius into something systematic, driving the sport forward to a whole new level. Anri then finally understands. This is what Ego calls the equation of evolution. You'd think all this talk about cells, life, and football would have shidou more involved, but I guess not. Football, like life, needs both types to keep evolving. A genius to break through the limits, and a prodigy to shape that breakthrough into a new norm. Ego concludes by pointing out that geniuses aren't the only ones that define the game. Prodigies play an equally crucial role. Together they're like the two wheels of a vehicle, each necessary for it to move forward. And prodigies, by bringing their own unique perspective, have the potential to become the best in their own way. As the match kicks off again, Igarashi takes control for Basher Munich, quickly passing the ball to their captain Noel Noah. Players from both sides rush up the field, but Isagi yoichi hangs back slightly, his metavision activated as he carefully studies the game. With each movement, he's piecing together a strategy, analyzing every player's position and potential plays. He then starts to reflect on his own journey, how he's always had to fight and claw his way forward by adapting to others. Instead of relying on raw, instinctive talent like many of the top players around him, Isagi's strength has always been in analyzing, copying, and adjusting. It becomes clear to him that he's been playing the game like a prodigy, taking bits and pieces from other skills to keep up, rather than creating something entirely original on his own. Flashes of his past matches against Norohaya and Nagi appear, highlighting how he borrowed techniques like off-the-ball movement and positioning to survive and craft weapons like two-gun volley. Deep down, he acknowledges that he's always been just a step behind, just managing to hang on by adapting rather than innovating. But now, on a field dominating by geniuses, players with natural gifts and extraordinary plays, he starts to feel the weight of his limitations. As the action picks up, Itoshiden lunges forward, trying to intercept Noah, but Noah swiftly passes to Kaiser, who's being marked by Tokimitsu. Holding off Tokimitsu with his hand on his chest in a classic 1-2 play, Kaiser returns the ball to Noah, who sprints ahead, continuing to drive the attack. But just when it looks like Noah's gonna make the next big play, Julian Loki bursts onto the scene, blitzing up the pitch at incredible speeds to intercept the ball just before Noah can reach it. The sight shakes Isagi to his core. For just a moment, his confidence falters as he realizes just how vast the gap is between him and these natural talents. Players like Loki, with abilities that seem almost otherworldly, make the game look too easy. It's a stark reminder of the struggle he faces, trying to compete on a level that seems unreachable. Just then though, Kaiser charges forward, yelling out in frustration about the gods they're facing. He calls out Loki's overwhelming speed, expressing how unfair it feels to go up against such raw, natural talent. As Isagi watches Kaiser's reaction, a new thought begins to take shape. Maybe, just maybe, Kaiser is struggling with the same challenges, trying to compete not as a genius, but as someone who uses his intellect and adaptability to keep up. A true prodigy. Isagi starts to see that he and Kaiser might not be so different after all. Both of them are fighting to carve out their place, even if it means taking a different path from the geniuses that they face. It's a crazy thought to me that Kaiser is a prodigy considering how late he started football and how little practice he got, but who knows? Maybe him kicking the ball into the wall filled with rage over and over created his Kaiser impact, and everyone just assumed he was a genius based on how he carries himself and the level he reached. With that being the final page of today's leaks, we then get some outro text which states, "A new discovery that overturns the foundations. Can understanding Kaiser as a prodigy lead to a breakthrough?" This really gets me hyped up and hoping for an Isagi and Kaiser team up, as Shidou and Rin have already seemed to be working in tandem, or at least in a way, other than fighting over Charles' loyalty. Isagi could also end up analyzing Michael's own evolution to then kickstart his own, however the teaming up has been hinted at in the past. Drop a comment below on what you guys think this all means and what will happen. The upcoming chapter 281 title is Need You, so maybe that will help get the cogs turning in your mind. Is he talking about needing Kaiser to evolve or as a teammate? Or maybe he just wants his old self back. Whatever the case may be, if you enjoy staying up to date with Blue Lock and would like to support the channel, please click that subscribe button, comment below your thoughts, and feel free to join my community Discord as well. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.